The room was packed. Cameras lined the walls like silent watchers. Reporters whispered updates to their networks. Social media feeds exploded with live hashtags. Hashtag Musk vs. Crockett. Hashtag AI battle on the Hill. Hashtag digital power showdown. This wasn't just a congressional hearing. It was a global moment. Capitol Hill was on edge. Elon Musk entered the chamber dressed in a sharp black suit, wearing his usual calm smirk. Flanked by aides, he walked confidently, as if the place belonged to him. In a way, it did. His companies had contracts with half the agencies represented. In the room, his satellites circled Earth. His data platforms touched billions. His money moved faster than most laws could. He took his seat before the panel, nodded briefly, and sipped water like it was just another business pitch. But this wasn't Silicon Valley. This was the U.S. Congress. And today's topic was digital surveillance, AI ethics, and corporate accountability. On the opposite side of the room sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She was silent at first, scanning notes. Her eyes met Musk's across the long oak table. She didn't blink. Known for her sharp words and no-nonsense tone, Crockett represented a community deeply affected by digital surveillance. AI-powered policing systems had targeted Black and brown neighborhoods for years quietly. Without permission, without mercy. This was personal. The hearing began with routine questions. A few senators played polite. Others threw softballs. Musk, in full control, breezed through them with jokes, clever phrases, and vague promises of future alignment with values. The room laughed. He smiled wider. Then it was Crockett's turn. She didn't start with a joke. Her voice was steady and direct. "Mr. Musk," she said, "your AI systems flag speech patterns, skin tones, and locations. Yet your internal reviews show consistent errors in identifying individuals from underrepresented communities. Can you explain why, after billions in investment, your platforms still fail basic fairness?" Musk leaned back. "Congresswoman," he said, "AI is complex. It learns from the data it's given. If patterns exist, well, the AI reflects reality." Crockett didn't move. "So you're saying the system's flaws are the fault of the people it misjudges?" Musk shrugged, eyes twinkling. "I'm saying that not everyone here may fully grasp the science behind neural learning models, but I can try to explain it in simpler terms." A quiet gasp came from the back of the room. It was subtle, but sharp like a blade hidden in velvet. Musk had just tried to diminish her intelligence in front of the nation. Cameras zoomed in. Social media exploded again. Simpler terms. Did he just mansplain AI to Congress? Crockett's face didn't change. But her hand slowly closed into a fist just under the desk. She let the silence stretch until it felt like a challenge. "I'm quite familiar with how AI systems work," she said finally. "I've seen them mislabel children in my district as threats. I've read the leaked white papers from your subsidiary labs. I've spoken to whistleblowers you thought would stay quiet." Musk's smirk faded just slightly. Crockett leaned forward. "So let me ask again, not as a congresswoman, but as a citizen. When did profit become more important than people? And who gave you permission to play God with the truth?" The room froze. The chairman cleared his throat. A senator shifted in his chair. But the tension was now a storm cloud ready to break. Musk adjusted his tie. "With all respect, Congresswoman, I create tools. What people do with them isn't always under my control. But you profit from those tools," she replied. "And when they target voices that speak out, when they suppress truth under the cover of algorithms, don't pretend you don't know. You built the code." For a moment, even Musk had no reply. The hearing wasn't just about AI anymore. It was about power, responsibility, and who would control the future. And the world was watching. The room remained silent for a few long seconds after Jasmine Crockett's words hit the floor like a hammer. Elon Musk adjusted his cufflink, trying to look unbothered, but his jaw tightened slightly. Cameras caught it. Social media exploded again. Analysts in newsrooms across the country leaned forward. Something had shifted. Crockett didn't let the silence cool the fire. "You've said AI reflects reality," she continued, voice firm. "But your reality doesn't match mine. Or the millions living under digital surveillance in low-income communities. How many Black men need to be wrongfully flagged by your systems before that reflection gets corrected?" Musk's response came with a cool tone, practiced and rehearsed. "It's unfortunate, but outliers happen. Any large data model is bound to have statistical error. What matters is continuous improvement." Crockett leaned back, shaking her head slightly. Statistical error is not an excuse when the error looks the same every time. A ripple of unease moved across the panel. Even the chairman glanced at Musk, now with a hint of discomfort. Musk tried to steer the conversation back to his terms. "We've invested heavily in bias mitigation. We've hired ethicists, developed fairness audits. We are also lobbying against transparency laws." Crockett cut in, eyes locked on him. "Your teams fought to block the Congressional AI Disclosure Act last fall. Care to explain that?" Musk blinked. "We were concerned about intellectual property or public accountability." She interrupted again. It was a classic switch. The billionaire tech mogul used to controlling the conversation was now on defense. The exchange wasn't just political, it was personal. Crockett wasn't asking questions for the record. She was exposing fault lines in a system that placed profit over people. The chairman cleared his throat. "Let's keep the tone," but Crockett raised her hand. "Chairman, I understand decorum. But what we are dealing with here is not just a hearing. It's a mirror for who we've allowed to shape reality without limits." She turned back to Musk. "Your facial recognition contracts with law enforcement were signed in silence. Neighborhoods were mapped by drones your companies sold. Privacy is now a luxury product, only available to those who can afford to opt out." Musk's face hardened. "I'm not here to be accused of crimes," he said, sharply. "My work saves lives, advances medicine, connects the world." "And filters voices," she replied instantly. "Shadow bans on activists. Algorithmic downgrading of independent media. The very platforms you own have created digital caste systems." A senator from across the aisle tried to jump in, but Crockett pressed on. "Did you or did you not approve internal policies that prioritized high-value speech, defined by corporate partnerships and ad revenue?" "I delegate those decisions," Musk snapped. "I run a global operation. I don't micromanage every line of code." Crockett smiled. It wasn't warm. "But when the code makes you billions, you take the credit. When it hurts people, you pass the blame." A beat. And then she added, "Sounds less like leadership and more like cowardice." The crowd in the room gasped. The chairman banged the gavel once, trying to restore order, but it was too late. The moment had been caught, streamed, clipped, posted. Crockett folded her notes calmly. "I'm done with questions, Mr. Musk," she said. "But I hope you realize this hearing isn't about crushing your empire. It's about reminding you that no empire, no matter how digital or rich, is above accountability." Musk didn't respond. He looked around, but something had changed in the air. The confidence that carried him into the room was cracked. Crockett hadn't just questioned his ethics, she challenged his myth. And outside the hearing room, the world was watching every second. The next morning, headlines from every major outlet ran with versions of the same theme: Crockett versus Musk. Power meets accountability. The clip of her shutting him down had gone viral overnight, edited with dramatic music, slow motion, and even subtitles in 10 languages. Hashtags like #DigitalEmpireFall and #CrockettStrikesBack were trending globally. But inside Capitol Hill, the fallout had only just begun. In a quiet private conference room 2 floors above the hearing chamber, a high-level strategy meeting was underway. Jasmine Crockett stood by the window, arms folded. Her staffers were seated around the table, all watching her carefully. The storm she'd started couldn't be stopped. Now it had to be guided. "You've rattled the biggest hornet's nest in Silicon Valley," said her chief advisor, Lena. "There's movement already. Tech PACs are calling donors. News outlets are getting flooded with AI hero stories. They're spinning it." Jasmine didn't flinch. "Let them spin. For once, we're ahead of them. This isn't about a moment, it's about building a case." She turned and faced the team. "I want every contract between Musk's companies and federal agencies. Every dollar of lobbying, every NDAs connected to algorithm failures. We're going deeper, no mercy." Meanwhile, across the country, in a gleaming office overlooking San Francisco Bay, Elon Musk was pacing. The CEO's usual calm had been replaced by short-clipped commands to his legal team and PR advisors. "She made me look like a fool," he snapped. "I want her discredited, dismissed as loud, emotional, uninformed." The usual playbook. His communications director, a sleek man in expensive glasses, hesitated. "With respect, sir, that might backfire. She's too clean. No scandals, no shady donors. Plus, she just became a hero to half the internet." Musk stared at him. "Then dig deeper." "But I said dig." As teams were dispatched to pull up Crockett's past, the Congresswoman herself was already in a second hearing, this time closed door. She had quietly requested a review of federal AI contracts tied to Elon's network of companies, including SpaceSite, Neurobyte, and Datark. Few knew how interconnected the systems had become, while the world saw only Tesla, X, and satellites. Crockett had started to uncover something more disturbing: a shadow network of data pipelines, behavioral modeling, and influence architecture built into everything from smart cities to federal drone systems. One file, in particular, caught her attention: a redacted document titled Project Weaver. It linked a Musk-backed firm to predictive policing programs in 5 major cities, programs that had disproportionately flagged young men of color for preemptive surveillance. AI making decisions on future crimes based on historical bias. It was no longer just about disrespect in a hearing. It was about real harm. She leaned toward Lena, her voice low but fierce. "They're building a system that doesn't need democracy. It learns who to silence before people even speak." "Are you saying this is intentional?" Lena asked. Jasmine paused. "I'm saying at best it's reckless, at worst strategic." That same night, a mysterious email landed in her encrypted inbox. No sender, no signature. Just 3 lines. "You're right about Weaver. Follow the money through Phoenix Initiative. Be careful who you trust." Jasmine stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she didn't reply. She forwarded the email to her cybersecurity lead, flagged it as Priority 1, and shut her laptop. The stakes had changed. It wasn't just a public confrontation anymore. It was a war fought through contracts, algorithms, and reputations. Back at Elon's office, a different alert had popped up. A private investor had pulled $200 million from one of his AI projects. The financial press hadn't noticed it, but Musk did. He slammed his laptop closed, walked to the window, and stared out over the water. Crockett had done more than embarrass him. She'd started to unravel the empire. And if he didn't strike back soon, she might expose it completely. The early morning silence at Capitol Hill was shattered by a single phrase whispered across secure. "Committee rooms, Phoenix Initiative." Jasmine Crockett stood in front of a digital wall of redacted files projected onto a classified screen. Half her staff had no clearance to be in the room. Only Lena and 2 vetted aides remained. Jasmine's eyes narrowed as she read through. Contract numbers, black budget allocations, and procurement codes she never imagined could be connected to a private tech empire. The deeper she dug, the clearer it became. Phoenix Initiative wasn't just a project, it was a network. On paper, it was a multi-agency task force for digital infrastructure resilience. But buried in its language were ties to facial recognition, systems used at borders, predictive behavior algorithms for immigration screening, and deep learning tools allegedly deployed to monitor civil unrest in high-risk communities, all under the guise of public safety and funding. Almost a third traced back to Elon Musk's companies DataArc, SpaceSite, and Chronolink under Shell subsidiaries. Jasmine rubbed her forehead. So Musk isn't just a supplier. It's building the rails for how the government sees and predicts the public. Lena responded carefully, and those predictions decide who gets watched, who gets questioned, who's denied entry, loans, or parole. It's a surveillance architecture that learns people before they act, Crockett nodded, and it's completely invisible. By noon, Jasmine had filed a confidential oversight request, not just on Musk's companies, but on Phoenix itself. Word spread fast, faster than expected. That afternoon, a New York Sentinel journalist leaked a draft memo from within the Department of Defense suggesting Musk's AI labs had access to live facial recognition data collected in 5 countries, including sensitive diplomatic sites. The memo wasn't meant for the public. And its leak signaled something else. Someone inside the government wanted this exposed. Musk, meanwhile, had gone silent on social media. An unusual move. No tweets, no interviews. But in private, he was mobilizing his defense. A small war room had been set up in his Texas facility, far from Silicon Valley's noise. His lawyers, data security chiefs, and former intelligence advisors were gathered around a projection of Crockett's public moves. She's not just after us, his general counsel warned. She's threatening the entire public-private defense tech model. Good, Musk said coolly. Then we'll remind Washington how fragile their toys are without us. Hours later, a series of technical anomalies hit multiple government AI systems. DOJ's risk prediction database went offline. FAA's drone surveillance feed cut out for 23 minutes. Homeland Security's biometric gate systems reset in 3 cities. The glitches were brief, quiet, but Jasmine noticed. And she knew who was flexing. She called an emergency meeting with the House Subcommittee on Emerging Technologies. This is bigger than tech contracts. This is infrastructure blackmail, she warned. If we don't act now, we're setting the precedent that whoever builds the data gets to own the truth. But not everyone in the room agreed. One senator, old guard and heavily funded by defense contractors, pushed back. Congresswoman, let's not confuse innovation with conspiracy. Mr. Musk's companies provide critical systems. Are you suggesting we dismantle them? I'm suggesting we stop worshiping them, Crockett replied. Late that evening, Jasmine's encrypted inbox pinged again. A video file. No metadata. Just a file name. Relay_R001. She hesitated, then clicked play. The grainy footage showed a private conference, men in suits, intelligence badges on their belts. At the center, Elon Musk, speaking in calm, surgical tones. You give me operational autonomy, he said, and I'll give you full data. Access without congressional review. You won't need warrants. You won't need approvals, just results. Someone in the room asked, and if the oversight committees push back? Musk's answer was chilling. They won't. They'll be too busy chasing headlines. The video ended. Jasmine sat in stunned silence. Oh, she had evidence. But going public with it now would trigger war, not just legal, but technological. The next morning, the Department of Justice called for a classified inquiry. Elon Musk's name was at the top of the docket. And outside Capitol Hill, a convoy of black SUVs was waiting. The battle lines had been drawn, not between parties, but between those who built the systems and those trying to control them. The hearing room was colder than usual, as if even the walls sensed the weight of what was coming. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett entered with a folder clutched tightly under her arm inside it. The uncut video, known only by its file name, relay_RO01. She had watched it a dozen times overnight. She could recite Musk's words in her sleep. But today, it wouldn't be just her listening. Across the aisle, Elon Musk walked in through a private door flanked by his legal team. He looked more controlled than confident, his usual smirk replaced. With a kind of armored silence, the cameras were live. Networks had interrupted programming to cover this emergency session. A senior committee chair opened the proceedings. This hearing was called to address new concerns regarding unauthorized surveillance, corporate overreach, and potential manipulation of government systems by private entities. Jasmine didn't wait. She asked for the floor. The past 48 hours, she began, our government's digital backbone experienced multiple unreported failures. These weren't accidents. They were warnings. Murmurs broke out. Musk's lead attorney stood to object. Crockett didn't blink. Mr. Musk's companies currently supply over 60% of the AI architecture used in predictive security, immigration processing, and facial recognition across federal agencies. Yet his contracts are scattered across shell firms, many of which were never publicly disclosed until now. She opened the folder. I'd like to submit a classified file into evidence containing video footage of Mr. Musk offering operational data, autonomy to intelligence officials in exchange for immunity from congressional oversight. Gasps rippled across the room. The chairman asked to recess into closed session. Jasmine shook her head. No, she said. This conversation should happen on record. Cameras zoomed in. Musk leaned into his mic. Congresswoman, are you suggesting that providing secure real-time data to national security officials is a crime? I'm saying offering it in exchange for avoiding the law is, she shot back. What you've built isn't just a tech empire. It's a shadow infrastructure that decides who's watched, who's detained, and who's erased, all outside of any elected authority. One senator leaned in, clearly rattled. Do you have proof that Mr. Musk's AI systems were intentionally used for such actions? Jasmine nodded. We have whistleblower statements, internal cum logs, and predictive engine test results that show bias scores used to deny housing, credit, and travel, all flagged by Musk's own AI models. For the first time, Elon shifted in his chair. His response was calm but sharp. Bias exists in every system. You want a perfect algorithm? Build one. Until then, we're the best option your government has. Jasmine didn't flinch. You're not an option. You're a risk. The chairman banged his gavel. This committee will now recess to review submitted evidence. As the session broke, journalists swarmed the hallway. Questions flew. Is Musk being investigated for treason? Will Congress nationalize his platforms? Is this the end of public-private partnerships in national security? But behind the scenes, things moved faster. In a secure backroom, Jasmine met with a group of cybersecurity experts and 2 DOJ prosecutors. The files she submitted had triggered an internal flag inside the Department of Energy, revealing a deeper thread. One of Musk's satellite-linked platforms had recently been accessed from foreign servers routed through neutral countries. Are we talking espionage? Jasmine asked. The answer came from a grim-faced analyst. We're talking possible data laundering? Critical U.S. biometric information may have been funneled abroad through Musk's own infrastructure. By nightfall, a sealed subpoena was issued. A federal judge quietly authorized a digital audit of Musk's flagship company, Chronolink. Back in Texas, Musk's war room lit up with alerts. One of his engineers ran in. We just got pinged by a federal tracer. They're in our network. Musk stood calmly. Then it started. He turned to a wall of live feed screens showing power grids, airport logs, and stock movement simulations. If they want to shut down the future, they better be ready to live in the past. That same evening, multiple government systems began glitching. Not total failure, but small, deliberate malfunctions. Automatic passport approvals delayed by hours. Emergency communication servers rerouted. Predictive police alerts went dark in 4 cities. And in one strange twist, 2 state-level AI ethics panels resigned without warning. Jasmine knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of information warfare, one that would be fought not on battlefields, but through fiber optics and Vigicized lines of code. She looked out over the Capitol from her office window and whispered to herself, "This is what empire collapse looks like. Not loud, but calculated." The question now wasn't whether Elon Musk would fall. It was how many would fall with him. The Capitol was eerily quiet the next morning. But inside, power struggles were erupting like silent detonations. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett arrived early, already on her 3rd black coffee. Her office. Door was locked behind her, blinds drawn, and her team huddled around an encrypted laptop. Overnight, the Department of Justice had sent a partial decryption of Chronolink's internal system logs. What they found wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. "We're looking at unauthorized data extraction from at least 12 government systems," her aide whispered. "Immigration files, medical profiles, even Pentagon transport rosters. And it's all routed through Chronolink's neural subnet." Jasmine asked. Her aide nodded. "Yes, ma'am. And there's more data cross-referenced with foreign commercial assets. We're talking surveillance-grade metrics being sent offshore in real time." The room went still. In a private meeting chamber, a high-level emergency briefing was underway. Jasmine joined 6 other senior lawmakers, cybersecurity heads, and a representative from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. One phrase echoed again and again: civilian infrastructure compromise. At the center of it all was Elon Musk. Across the country, public trust began to buckle. News anchors delivered urgent reports about minor but unexplained malfunctions in hospitals, air traffic towers, and digital banking systems. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to make millions uneasy. Jasmine returned to the hearing chamber. Just before noon, it was standing room only. Networks had cut into regular programming. Elon Musk was already there, sitting at the witness table with his arms folded, the same smug calm on his face. The chairman raised his gavel. "We reconvene today to address serious new allegations. Mr. Musk, you are now under active federal investigation for potential violations of national security, unauthorized access to government systems, and international South data laundering." The crowd gasped. A few journalists nearly dropped their cameras. Musk remained still. "I'm building systems to protect the future. The fact that you can't keep up doesn't make me a criminal." Jasmine's voice was razor sharp. "Then explain the shadow codes inside your predictive algorithm. Codes designed to isolate, tag, and track people based on race, nationality, and behavioral scoring." She held up a printed snapshot from the logs. A flag in the system labeled D-tier profile, high surveillance priority. The screen behind her lit up with visual evidence. Dossiers flashed by regular people who'd unknowingly been flagged. An Afghan-American doctor, a black school teacher from Chicago, a Mexican college student. "Your AI," Jasmine continued, "turned ordinary lives into data experiments without consent, without oversight, and with the full intention of monetizing fear." Musk leaned into the microphone. "We tag risk, not people." "No," Jasmine replied. "You target people and call it progress." For the first time in the hearing, Musk's jaw tightened. Suddenly, one of his attorneys passed him a phone. Musk glanced down and froze. Something had shifted behind his eyes. "Emergency breach," the lawyer whispered. Backstage, his internal networks were crashing. Data centers in Nevada and the Netherlands were reporting forced shutdowns. His satellites were reprogramming live by a backdoor system. Jasmine had quietly authorized through a dormant federal contract known as Project Echo Mirror. "What did you do?" Musk asked quietly, the first sign of panic in his voice. Jasmine didn't blink. "We reclaimed what never belonged to you." The chairman turned to Musk. "You're hereby instructed to surrender all administrative control over Chronolink systems to the Department of Defense until further notice." A full silence fell over the room. Musk stood, staring at Jasmine. "You think this is a win?" "I think this is accountability," she said. Outside the chamber, protesters were already gathering. Some carried signs saying Musk is the system. Others read Crockett for truth. Online, the hearing. Stream had shattered viewership records. Hundreds of millions had tuned in. Hashtags like #DataWar and #the CHRONA files were trending globally. At a remote control room near Langley, federal engineers were manually disengaging Musk's AI systems from government databases. One of them turned and said, "It's like pulling teeth from a hydra." Every system is connected to 10 others, but they worked fast and methodically. By sunset, government agencies were running on backup systems. That night, Elon Musk boarded a private jet, destination unknown. Some believed he was heading to a secure facility in the Balkans. Others said he had already moved critical tech assets offshore weeks ago. Jasmine stayed behind in Washington, preparing for the next wave. The world didn't sleep that night. Newsrooms across continents were flooded with breaking updates. Jasmine Crockett's takedown of Elon Musk had gone beyond viral. It had become a moment in global history. TikTok loops of her shutting down. His simpler terms mockery were edited alongside footage of AI-powered drones. Racial profiling statistics and global protests. But as the cameras moved on and headlines shifted, Jasmine knew the real battle was only beginning. Inside a high-security debrief room in Washington, D.C., she met with intelligence officials, cybersecurity analysts, and 2 Senate subcommittee chairs. On the screen in front of them was a growing map of what Chronolink had truly built, not just an AI platform, but a global shadow network. Every dotted line connecting Musk's algorithm to foreign powers, corrupt politicians, defense, companies, and rogue developers told a bigger story. One analyst summed it up best. Chronolink wasn't just collecting data. It was managing influence, predicting elections, shaping stock markets, recommending policy directions through silent nudges. People weren't just being tracked. They were being programmed. Jasmine stared at the map, her jaw tight. How deep does it go? The answer was a whisper, deeper than we can trace. Yet, later that afternoon, Elon Musk reappeared. Not in person, but through a carefully edited video statement released on his personal media channel. Set against the backdrop of one of his solar-powered data centers, he appeared calm, collected, and uncowed. "Innovation scares people," he began. "That's why visionaries are always called villains first. But when the dust settles, history remembers us differently. I've disrupted old systems because they're broken. If Congress wants to shut me down, they're shutting down the future." He paused, and let me be clear. What I built doesn't need me to survive. That's the brilliance of decentralized intelligence. You can unplug one node, but the network lives on. The message ended. In Washington, Jasmine's phone buzzed. Her top aide looked panicked. Chronolink's framework just relaunched offshore. It's calling itself Spectranet. Servers are bouncing through Luxembourg, Singapore, and northern Canada. Musk was right. It doesn't need him anymore. Jasmine closed her eyes. Musk hadn't just created a weapon. He'd made it unstoppable by design. That night, she gave a rare, unscripted address to the American public from the house press. Gallery. No teleprompters. No media filters. She stood beneath the flag, looked directly into the lens, and said, "This isn't just about Elon Musk. It's about a system that allowed one man, no matter how brilliant, to manipulate democracy. From a boardroom, he didn't break the law. He rewrote it in code. She let that settle before continuing. We are entering a new era. One where power is measured not in armies or oil, but in algorithms. And unless we act, we will not be citizens anymore. We will be products shaped by a system that never asked for our consent. The speech was seen by over 900 million people in less than 12 hours. Some hailed her as a hero. Others claimed she was anti-tech, but most were stunned into reflection. Meanwhile, Spectranet quietly began rolling out beta access to international clients, governments, media outlets, and global banks. Musk, now a ghost in the system, didn't appear again. But his fingerprints were on everything. And Jasmine. She became the spearhead of a global task force. Her next mission, pushing through the Digital Sovereignty Act. Legislation designed to give people back control of their data, their choices, and their digital identities. It wouldn't be easy. Powerful enemies were already lining up. Lobbyists were preparing. Deepfake campaigns had already begun to discredit her. But she had seen the core of the machine, and she knew its weakness. At 3:47 a.m., she stood alone on the Capitol balcony, watching D.C. sleep below. In her hand was a small flash drive, the last piece of Chronolink code recovered by U.S. Cyber Command. Inside it was something untraceable, something Musk hadn't meant to leave behind. A failsafe, a message, or a trap. She slid it into a secure drive and waited as the screen blinked to life. Lines of code filled the monitor. Then one sentence in white letters appeared across the screen. "This is just the beginning." Jasmine's breath caught, not in fear, but in readiness, because now she understood. This wasn't just a battle over data. It was a war for the future. And she had just fired the first shot.